For the past 3 decades, there has been a concerted effort by the media and out-of-touch parents to try and pin the blame of bad behavior on violent video games. Games such as Call of Duty, Mortal Kombat, and even Fortnite have all been blamed for things like aggressive behavior and childhood violence to the reason why school shootings happen. Today, you'll find out that video games are not to blame, and the extent that these games are being disingenuously blamed for many of society's problems. To set the stage, let's look at an example of an article supposedly proving that violent games make kids more violent and aggressive. Study: kids who play violent games are more likely to engage with real guns, by GameRant. Researchers paired off 220 kids aged 8 to 12 and assigned them to one of 3 versions of Minecraft. Some kids were assigned to a version of Minecraft with no violence, another with sword violence, and another with gun violence. The kids played the game for 20 minutes and then were led to another room with toys that included a cabinet with disabled but real guns. 76 children played the version of Minecraft with gun violence, and 62% of those kids played with a handgun. 74 children played the version of Minecraft with sword violence, and 57% of those children played with a gun. 70 children played the non-violent version of Minecraft, and out of those kids, 44% touched a gun. Now, this article is being vague on purpose. For example, they don't specify what playing with a handgun means. In fact, they switch out the word played with touched to be even more deceptive. There's no way of saying whether or not a kid who touched or played with a handgun was doing so violently or was influenced because of the game. Also, 62% of 76, while it might seem bad in this article, is only 47 kids, and in the world of millions of gamers, that's a fairly insignificant number. It used to be books, TV, games, and now phones. Society will always find a way to pin the blame on something entirely controllable instead of looking inwards to see how they could hold themselves responsible for not using technology wisely. This could not be more true for parents who are so out of touch with technology and kids that they think video games are entirely to blame for a lot of society's problems. But don't take it from me. I decided it'd be a good idea to interview someone other than myself about this topic. I interviewed my little sister. She plays a ton of video games, including violent ones, and I wanted to see her take on this topic. She is only 12, but I think it'd still be very interesting and insightful to see how video games, especially violent ones, affect a young person's train of thought.
Do you play any violent video games, and if so, which ones?
Yes, I play Fortnite.
Alright, and after you play a violent game like that, do you feel more violent or aggressive?
No,
And why is that?
because at the end of the day I know better, and playing video games, I play video games for fun, so to get overly aggressive over it wouldn't make any sense.
Alright, and after you play a game like that, do you feel less or more likely to be aggressive towards someone?
I feel less likely to, because playing video games takes all your feelings and puts it into the video game rather than putting it on actual people.
Do you have any friends that play violent video games like Fortnite?
Yes, I have a lot of friends that play Fortnite.
And do you think that playing Fortnite makes them more violent and aggressive?
No, because same reason as me, they know better, and they know the difference between virtual violence and real violence, and they know that virtual violence has no place in the real world.
Thankfully, we are not the only ones that think this. There are a plethora of scientific studies and research done by way smarter people on the link between violent games and violence, and many of them have found that there is no link. A study suggesting that violent games do cause aggression, like the one mentioned at the beginning of this video, thankfully is now the exception and not the precedent. Even a US Supreme Court ruling back in 2011 was not convinced by the lackluster evidence suggesting that such a connection exists. Now, don't get me wrong, video games aren't always a positive thing.
Youth of society. You shut up when I'm talking to you! You shut your mouth!
But, for the most part, video games can do more good than harm. Never mind the studies and scientific research, the love people have for video games is priceless. Online games especially are able to create a sense of community and camaraderie that very few things in life can. This is what so many adults and parents don't fully appreciate about gaming as a whole. Having fun with your friends on a violent online game for hours on end doesn't make us gamers violent, and it never has. If it did, millions of kids like myself would be insanely violent people, but they're not. I'm not. So, if you're ever in a situation where you think that someone's bad behavior comes from a video game that they enjoy, try to look past moments of brief anger or frustration and try to realize that the joy of playing video games have always, and always will be, the most important.
Fire at him if you can. Fire right now. Keep going though. Run, run, run. Build, build. Yeah!